many days do you think the spring comes?
How many days until spring?
Yes.
68.
68.
68 days until
Oh
this
my
miserable,
gosh.
death-bearing weather is over. Spring comes and we can get back to growing plants again.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
I'm
I
telling you.
can't wait.
Hey, well, speaking of spring, I want to introduce you to the newest member of our citrus family. This is the Bear's lemon. Bear's lemon. This is a native plant from Florida, and it outproduces fruit of the Eureka and the Lisbon, and it produces a really pretty, nice-sized fruit, and it's very tart. It has a lot of oil in the rinds, and it grows really fast. It's a fast grower. You can grow this in a container. It loves being in a container, but this is a very commercially used lemon plant down in Florida, and so this is our newest one that we just got a couple months ago, and it's already supporting new growth coming out the top, new shoots and new leaves. So we're really excited. This is the lemon. I just want to introduce you to that before we get started today. Today we're going to be talking about the different problems with pests in your citrus plants and being able to recognize the symptoms of what your plant is going through and the stress that is caused by the plants, or by the pest rather, and to be able to recognize the telltale signs of when you have a pest problem and being able to identify it, and then of course, how do you treat it? So that's what we're going to go over today.
Very important.
Exactly. So first thing I want to go over with you, and I'm going to put some pictures up here as I talk about these different telltale signs, is one of the first things you're going to notice is your leaves start to turn yellow. And when your leaf is yellowing, something's wrong. All right. So looking for the pest is a sure way to try to identify that. The leaf turning yellow. If your citrus leaf is curling, I know a lot of times you see a yellow leaf and it curls around, and you open it up and you'll see like a spider web inside. It's got a larvae inside of there. So that is a sign. Leaves start falling off your plant onto the ground, dropping leaves. That's another sign. And then, of course, when you see the leaf, and instead of being nice and smooth, it's all crinkly looking like that, and it's deforming the leaf, that's another sign that you've got a pest problem. All right?
Exactly.
So what can you tell me a couple of these pests, the most prominent, the most common pests that plague citrus plants, what would those be?
Well, the most common pests that are annoying and disruptive to your citrus tree, one of them is spider mites.
I hate spider mites.
You could have armored scale, and here's the aphids, and also some of...
Now, the aphids that attack the citrus tree, are they different than the ones that you would say get on a Hoya or something like that?
There are so many types of aphid species, and generation to generation. So depending on, and it varies. How to say that? Varies. Varies in different color. Like what we have this yellow aphids,
brown ones, yellow ones, green ones, every kind you can think of.
And so
I think the aphid is probably the easiest pest to recognize right away because
it is visible.
They don't hide under the leaf like most of them do. They stay right there on the new tender shoots at the tips, right?
And it can be difficult to manage because of their overlapping generation, and they overwinter, and then they hatch their egg in spring and summer when the temperature is suitable.
So you talk about aphids. What else?
All
spider mites.
Spider mites and mealybugs.
Mealybug. What else? Scale and
what was that you're looking about? The
leaf miner.
The leaf miner.
The citrus leaf miner. That is really kind of the weirdest one of all of them, in how that it propagates itself in there. It's a moth. It's a little moth.
It surprises me about the cycle of that mining. I did not get into that cycle.
The moth lands on the bottom of the leaf. It lays its eggs on the bottom of the leaf. When the larvae hatches from the egg, it burrows inside the leaf. And it only burrows on the tender new leaves of your citrus plant. It doesn't like the older leaves, only on the new ones. and you'll see it leaves like a little trail. Put a picture right here where you can see what it looks like. It weaves a little trail, and then when the larvae hatches, it crawls out of the leaf and drops into the soil of your citrus plant, and it burrows into the soil where it hatches out into a new moth. And
actually, it is less harmless. Though.
Yeah, it's less harmless. It doesn't kill your plant. It won't kill the plant.
You just have to remove the infected area so that it doesn't spread. And when you will get into that treatment later on.
Right.
So
of all of those pests, though, which one is the most damaging?
The most damaging is the red armor scale and the spider mites. So scale and spider.
I think the mealybug, though, is pretty bad too. It does a lot of damage. It drops a lot of leaves. If it drops a lot of leaves, all your leaves come off. You're not getting photosynthesis then, and it could kill your plant, because that's how your plant produces its energy and its food, is through the photosynthesis.
So, like for example, when people we bought this one in one of the nursery, and I did good care of this plant, and as you can see, it's already producing a new shoot. Now, when you buy your citrus anywhere, in a nursery or store box, so the best management is to make sure that you inspect the plant.
Right.
All right? And then inspect the plants and quarantine the plants within 7 days. What I did to this plant...
What do you mean quarantine? Explain that to the people who don't know what you mean by quarantining a plant.
Keep by itself.
Put him in timeout?
Keep by itself, away from the plants you have in your home or garden. Right. Because you don't know if the plant is carrying pests.
Not just the plant, but inside the soil, you could have larvae in there that haven't hatched out yet or metamorphized into their adult stage. So you don't know if it's got eggs. The nursery you bought the plant from, they may have sprayed it, or maybe who they bought from the growers. But if you have eggs on it that haven't hatched out yet, they never would have seen it, or if they're in the soil, they wouldn't have seen it either. So a quarantine period is mandatory for any plant, an outdoor plant in the greenhouse, or if you bring it inside in your house, put it in a separate room for what, at least a week or so, until the life cycle of
one week.
At least a week, right?
1 week before. Now,
all these different insects all have different life cycles, and what does that mean? What does that? How is that important to me as a gardener to understand the life cycle of one of these pests? If let's say I have mealybug on there, and I spray that mealybug, I killed that mealybug. Is it over and done with now?
It's almost like understanding the cycle of its pest is very important.
Very
because
important.
One maybe have a long cycle, the other one have maybe shorter cycle. For example, spider mites.
What is a cycle?
It's from the egg to larva, then to larva to the nymph. And like for example, adult or nymph.
But some have 3 and some have 4 cycles. Some have a pupa and some don't. Some go from grow from an egg to a larvae to the adult, and some go into a pupa stage.
Like the spider mites, the complete cycle is 20 days. And then within 20 days, they continue to breed it again. And
so then, let's say I have spider mites on here. I spray my plant with my Azotec, and I kill all the adults, and then I come back in a few more days, and I see there's more spider mites, and I'm thinking, wow, it didn't work. Yeah, it did. It just another part of the cycle
that it
changed, metamorphized.
It is.
You got to get the egg, the larvae, and the adult. So when you kill out the larvae, then the larvae, if you kill out the larvae, you're gonna see a huge drop in the population of that insect. But you've got to treat it so you get the adult, the larvae, and the egg.
Most sucking pests like the mealybugs and scales, they have this ants. And you're good with that ants carrying that egg.
I have battled ants, all kind of ants, from sugar ants, black ants.
We had that, when was that? Long time ago.
Yeah.
But you controlled it.
We had something that were raising in the aquaponic beds, and they were crawling up in there, and when we had the watercress, they like getting up in the watercress. And, but the ants are the symbiotic relationship with your mealybugs and your aphids, because both of those, and scale too, the scale also produce a honeydew as they excrete the sap from your plant. They excrete this honeydew. It's a real sweet, sugary substance that the ants love. It's like it's what they feed off of. So what they do is they protect these insects from the ladybugs and your natural insect killers that kill these things. The ants protect them and drive them off. And the ladybugs can't eat the aphids and stuff if they have the ants that are there to protect them. So what you want to do is break that life cycle of the ant as well. He will actually pick that mealybug up with his little jaws and carry him to a part of the plant that he knows that insect enjoys thriving on. He'll leave him there. That insect will then lay egg pods. And if you see the mealybugs, they create a little white egg sac, and they're like little round, little long cigar-shaped little things, and those are the egg sacs. And when those hatch out, then they start the life cycle all over again. So the ants protect them and transport them all over the place. The aphids do the same thing with the aphids and the scales. I always wondered, how do these scales get around? They don't have legs. You don't even see legs on them. They just look like it looks like a, I don't know, like a fish scale or something on your plant. And you go to rub it.
Some are wingless, some are, depending on the species that you had. Like, this, what is this scale, the armored scale? And you thought that it's just like there, it doesn't move. But actually the male would start moving under that male. And what is...
So how do you treat the soil? Because if you got larvae in the soil, how do you treat that?
Well, here, I want to show it in here. And poor snake plants. So this one here was damaged in the greenhouse. We have rain and then just dripping. That's the problem of snake plants. You cannot.
They don't like too much water.
So if you know that you have infestation going on, and you find out what type of pest attacking your plants, and then you see larvae.
You don't see larvae until you take it out of the pot. That's what you're looking for.
You have to take it out,
Just take it out of your pot and
examine your roots, and then look at the roots if there is some.
You see anything crawling around in there, you got problems.
If you see like that, and you asked me before, how are you going to, if it is a lot of crawlers in here, how are you going to protect this plant? Well, if it is too much egg in here, you don't want to keep the soil. I would remove all this soil, leaving the plant bare root.
Wash all that soil off with a hose or put it in a bowl of water, massage those roots and get it all up.
Take out all the soil, and then...
How do you make sure you kill the eggs then that are, maybe they're attached to the roots themselves?
It can be.
Okay, so how do you treat the root then?
After you remove all the soil, you have to soak the plant with peroxide or...
Hydrogen peroxide?
Not peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide. And,
we don't want to give them blonde hair.
Hydrogen. Just bear with me, guys. All right. So I'm just trying to explain.
I have to live with her.
So you have to soak your plant a couple hours. Sometimes I did 24 hours if it is heavy infested, and then soak it in the bucket or any kind of container you have, and then soak for a few hours until
What else? Can you use anything else other than hydrogen peroxide?
You can use neem or azotic.
Yeah,
I use azotic. I put I think I did like three tablespoons of this, and I mix in a quart
of water,
and then I dip my plant. So that's how you treat if there is an infected.
You can usually do that when you're at the greenhouse or the nurseries also, because they typically don't overwater their plants. They water them lightly, and they slide out real easy out of those little cheap plastic pots. You can look at the roots real quick before you bring it home. If you see a lot of bugs and stuff, don't buy that plant.
And here is also one thing that why your plant is infested. If it is healthy plants, you're less infested. Your plant become infested with pests if you stress the plant out. And how are you how there are so many type of stress: transplant stress, water stress. So once it is stressed out, your plant will be
acclimation. When you take your plant out of the house in the wintertime and you take it back outside, pick it outside for 2 hours the first day, 3 to 4 hours the next day, 6 hours the next day, until it can stay outside for the whole time. So if you don't, your plant's going to stress out and it's going to freak out because it's not used to that. One thing a plant does not like to do is be moved around. It likes to stay in one place. It gets acclimated. It'll do well or it'll do poorly there. If it does poorly, then you got to do something to move it, and maybe put it under some artificial lights and full UV lights.
I am getting this question about the plant. So when you buy citrus, you're excited. You're excited your plants, and most people, they take the plants, transplant right away. And one of these ladies, she said, Marcelina, I have a beautiful citrus. I think she bought it from us, and it was really nice. You're taking care of the citrus, and I was so happy. But once I transferred the plant to another pot, it's just not happy anymore. It is sad, and then it's starting yellowing the leaves. So that is the problem. When you buy it, that's what you said. You acclimate first. Don't transplant your plant because it's stressed out. Then you have so many problems. So how are we going to treat the problem? Managing your pest?
You got to use one of two different types of product. You have to use an all-natural product, or you have to use a chemical product. You have to decide what's best for you. If you're going to be using citrus and you're going to be eating those citrus, you don't want to use those harsh chemicals because your plant is going to absorb those chemicals and it's going to bear out in the fruit. So you want to eat fruit that has been treated with poisonous chemicals? I don't think you do. You want to use an all-natural product, and that's why Azotec was created in the first place. It's an all-natural insecticide, insect growth inhibitor, and as well as it works in 3 different ways in killing and treating your insects. This is good stuff, and I can't say enough about it. There's nothing on the market that I have seen that's natural that works better than this stuff does. And it's something that we have a hard time keeping around. We just got a new shipment of labels and everything else that we use to put this all together for you guys. So it's received a lot of good attention. You've got to keep an eye though on your bugs and treat them. That's very important. You can't grow citrus plants and just throw them outside and forget about them.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't forget.
I will be in the greenhouse every day and managing everything. And it makes me feel happy when someone said, Marcelina, your citrus is really nice and you take good care of it. And I said, well, I'm always here, and every time if I am in the greenhouse, my eyes is everywhere. So I have to look at the plant and stare the plant. Is what sign on the leaves and stems? So I have to check, because sometimes you might not be seeing it, and then I just check, and then
we walk behind each other. I'll check plants that she missed, and I'll catch something, and then I treat it. So we work. We'll sit out there and drink our coffee and talk while we're sitting here talking. We're inspecting the leaves, flipping them over. If it's in a little pot, we'll pick it up and hold it up. You can see the insects better if you look from underneath, and if there's any problem.
So if it is heavily infested, like half of your citrus parts are damaged, it takes a while for the plant to recover. Because what's happening, especially these, they have different injury. They have different injury.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. So if you have a scale, the scale, we did not have problem much of the scale.
I've only found a couple scales this year, but it was on the bay laurel tree.
And the scale is like this armor scale. It just attached to the stem and fruit and everything, and it's just kills your plant if it is too infested.
All right, guys, that's all we got for you for today. That's recognizing pests on your plants and what stresses them out.
Acclimate your plants when you buy it.
Well, the most important thing is to keep them happy, keep the bugs away from them, and you've got one step closer to having success with your citrus plants. So this is Greg Stevens from CashYourGreens.com.
Marcelina.
And we'll see you in the next episode at cashyourgreens.com.
Peace out.
You found the one. They say